Welcome to the JJs Podcast. You have come at the greatest time because we are giving you another installment of Magazine Moments with the JJs. And what does that mean, Janice?
So, in today's episode, we're going to do one of our favorite things, and we're going to be judging articles on decluttering, cleaning, and organizing, because not all advice is tidy. So, it basically came about because I get all sorts of emails that relate to decluttering, cleaning, organizing. For some reason, they pop up on my feed, probably because I talk about it a lot. So today is actually something that I read. I checked out a magazine from Libby, which is the library app. So I subscribe to different things. And this one is real simple, Organizing Basics 2022. So it's been out for a while. And the title of the article is called Clutter You Can't Quit.
Reminds me of Brokeback Mountain. Okay. I digress.
So
okay.
They actually asked their Facebook fans to list 8 items that tend to pile up. So what items do you think, off the top of your head, they may have listed?
Items that pile up. Paper,
Common items that
mail,
okay.
Clothes, dirty clothes, items that pile up, dishes.
Okay, clothes is one of them.
Okay. Shoes, items that pile up. I don't know.
Okay, let's go through them.
Okay.
So, books.
Oh, yeah, I guess books do pile up.
And the reasons they say books pile up, the excuses that you are giving yourself for keeping them are you might want to reread it.
Mm-hmm.
You have good memories from reading them,
Mm-hmm.
and that these books are part of my identity. And I think that's kind of relating to school books. Like I remember I saved books from my postgraduate degree probably for 10 years, and then I realized that they were all out of date. So why was I saving them?
Right.
So what they're saying is if you don't read it or refer to it again, and it doesn't have strong sentimental value, then it should go.
Gotcha. So yeah, I agree with that.
So that way
it's
you're
good to go through.
yourself.
It's good to go through your bookshelves a couple times a year because you just never know and things change and it's like, I really am not going to read that again, or I never liked that book. I might as well get rid of it.
What's your favorite way to get rid of the books that are leaving your house?
I usually take them to the little free library. We've got a ton of little free libraries in our neighborhood. And when I get rid of books, I only get rid of a few at a time. So I have already done a big declutter on books, and that was very freeing for me. I liked that, but when I like to take them to the little free libraries.
I tend to take mine to, I mean, sometimes if I'm in a hurry, I take them to Goodwill. I also take them to our local libraries because they have friends of the library bookstores. And I like doing that because I found that sometimes Goodwill and the friends of the libraries, they actually will post books on Goodreads or some of these secondhand book places. So I kind of like that because they're making money on something so they can give that back to the library.
Right.
And sometimes taking them to like senior living
And
centers.
I did that. I had an entire set of who was it? It was one of the it's like Sue Grafton. I think I had the
Yeah.
whole set. And I took in when my parents were in assisted living and I donated the whole set to their little library that they had there. And so that's cool because I know that they're still being used
Yes.
and
Yeah.
appreciated.
So those are some places that I've I've donated my books to. That another thing that they have listed is handbags.
For a lot of people, yeah. For me, not so much.
Yeah,
Um,
I have like, well, okay. I have 3 or 4. I use one.
well, exactly. And I have a couple that are for different things. You know,
Right.
I've got the cute little bag for dress up night. And then I have one for traveling it's like a crossbody bag, but
Yeah,
it's
that's the one
more
I use
like
all the time.
it actually has pockets up here all the way down to my hip. So that's a nice one for traveling.
But
Um,
if you do have a handbag addiction, because I had a friend who did have a handbag addiction. I mean, when we would go any place, she'd go, we got to go to the Coach store. And she bought like 6 bags a year. And it's like, why are you buying so many bags? And she said to me, well, clothes doesn't always fit, but bags always will. So that's how she got her style on, was with her
gotcha.
accessories.
Oh, how funny.
And their experts were telling their readers, if you haven't pulled it out in the last year, get rid of it. I have my old Coach bag I had since college. That was a long time ago. That was over 30 years ago. I'm not getting rid of it.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
classic.
Right. Oh, too funny.
But it does talk about that if you should define your storage space. So if you bring one in, then you should get rid of one of them.
Has
Yeah.
has
So
to fit within that
yeah,
space.
which is
Gotcha.
which actually is a good strategy.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
And if you're getting rid of one, make sure you check on eBay or places like that to see whether it's worth selling.
Right.
Because
Right.
sometimes you can get a lot of money
Po-
for these things.
I think it's like Poshmark or something like that that people use. I haven't done it. My sister has. She's been successful at it. So I'm like, oh, teach me.
So the number 3 thing is hand me down furniture you don't like.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's true. That happens to a lot of people.
I
Um,
still have desks of my children's that are still functional because sometimes I need a desk. But if I were to buy a desk, that would not be the desk that I would buy.
right.
The 2 desks that I use are not desks that I would choose if I were going to buy something. If someone said, go buy yourself a desk, I would get rid of these desks. But they're functional. That's the thing about desks and some of these other furniture, because
Right.
you get a coffee table and it suits the need, and you know, I had my one of my aunts gave me a table and then she passed away, and I felt bad about getting rid of it, but it didn't work in my apartment. It didn't work as a desk. And
Right.
I finally told my mom, just get rid of it because I'm not going to use it. And I have no idea where it went. So the reason people keep hand-me-down furniture, it says, is because it has meaning to my family and I feel guilty giving it away. I can see that one. I'm afraid I'll buy the wrong furniture, so I'll just stick with this piece because it was free. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I hate this, but it's such a pain to move it and it holds so much.
Yep. I totally identify with that one.
Hmm.
Goodness.
So they're saying if it's not deeply comfortable, deeply beautiful, or deeply meaningful, put it on the curb.
How can I? It's so deep I can't reach it.
Yeah, I can't put it on the curb because I live in a gated community and nobody would pick it up. Well, neighbors could, I guess. So in ways to find a new home is that if you're keeping the peace, only out of the obligation and it's a family member who and there's a family member who could use it, then offer it up. Or even better, send a text with the picture to people in your family and say, "This was so and so's, and I'm getting ready to have it leave my house. Does anybody want it?" And let it be their problem.
Yeah. Yeah. We recently did that last spring, actually. We took a little settee and two chairs that my uncle had made, and they're, really cool, but it just wasn't fitting for us anymore.
Mhm.
And I knew that my cousin would really like it to stay in the family if possible.
Right.
So called them first, and he suggested a specific cousin, offer it to her, and she's younger than us. And she was delighted to get
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And so I was so pleased about that, because especially when it's something that's been handmade like that, it was like,
Right.
oh, that was a hard one, but it worked really well to reach out to family.
So the next item on the list is kitchen tools, platters, and mugs.
Oh, hush. You can never have enough of those. I I love my kitchen tools. And yes,
So
the mugs are getting big, and I know I'm gonna have to go through the mugs and weed them out, because my granddaughter called and said, "What should I get grandpa for Christmas?" And I said, really, it's I don't know. She goes, "What does he like?" I said, "Well, he loves coffee, so he's gonna get a coffee mug." So I know that I'll get rid
one
of
or
a couple of
two.
mine to make room for his. So
There you go. So what you're telling yourself is, I want to make my own bread. I really do. I mean, I do have a lot of sourdough making stuff that I haven't touched in a while. I'll use these platters when I start having more dinner parties, and I've collected these mugs forever.
yeah, mugs can come and go. There's a few that are like, oh, my favorite one, and I would be sad if it broke or whatever,
Well,
but
and what the experts are saying is, keep what's truly useful within reason, but don't store it all in the kitchen. So I I think so what they're saying is, what do you actually use and what's in your way? So pull
oh,
out
I
the
see.
mugs and things that you're constantly reaching past and store them someplace else rather
Gotcha.
than taking up the valuable space in your kitchen cupboards, which I guess
Well,
that's true.
and especially with platters, they take up a lot of space.
Yeah.
So we actually keep ours in the pantry and standing on end. So that works for us.
And it also says face your fantasies. Gourmet gadgets, are they really you? Yeah, they are. They're me.
Yes.
Yeah. I,
Need you
I do
ask?
I do agree that I at the time when I got married, I thought, oh, people are gonna come to my house for holidays. So I need 12 settings of my china. Have I ever had 12 people over to use all that china? No. When I suppose it's easy because each of my kids can either have a setting of 4 and have 4 that I give away, or they can take a setting of 6 if they want it. I don't know.
Right.
Or I just get
Right.
rid of them when it's
Yeah.
that time. I don't know, but we did get a big table and we have a lot of china settings. And then it says, "Are you a person who loves the memory that comes with each kooky mug, or
Mm.
wishes you had fewer to dig through when you really need coffee?" I don't drink
I don't know.
coffee.
We've both been pretty good at going through our mugs off and on. So at this point, neither of us are in too bad of a shape. But that is, coffee mugs are big, and that is something that I see offered and asked for a lot on Buy Nothing on Facebook, which is
And they
a
do break.
yeah, they
In
do.
my house, my husband breaks things often. And so it's like, oh,
Yeah,
geez.
my husband's cup didn't break today, but it did end up the wrong side.
Oh no.
So I look over and there he is trying to clean stuff, patting the stuff to get it off of the chair and off
Oh,
of the white carpet. So, yeah, he's cleaned it perfectly. He immediately ate, and then bless his heart, he had to go make another cup of coffee. But it was like, okay, you can have that coffee, but can you go outside in the yard now? But yeah,
So the next item is clothes.
yeah, clothes pile up and pile up.
And the main excuses for keeping them is you plan on losing weight. You plan on taking up that sport.
Right.
You're waiting for it to come back in style, which a lot of stuff probably has
Yes.
come and gone and come and gone again if you
Right.
are as
Right.
old as I am, or you paid a lot for it and so you haven't let it go. And I have two things that I did pay a lot for, and they are still in my closet, and there's no reason because nobody's ever going to wear them in my family. So the experts are saying if it doesn't fit this minute, it's outdated, or you haven't worn it in 2 years, pass it along to someone who will.
Yeah, that's that's pretty much it. And I have found as my life has gone through different incantations, um, it I used to get dressed up all the time.
Mhm.
I was a manager of a clothing store, and so I had more clothes than God should allow. And then when I stopped doing that and I went to work at a different place that had a uniform, I'm like, I don't need all these clothes, but how cool
Yeah.
is this? And then
And you still have
and
all
then
those other clothes. Yeah.
I retired, and it's like, oh my God, give them away. Just give them away. So I've kept a few pieces. I've really whittled down, and I try to do a little more capsule clothing so that I can just do the mix and match. But like I haven't worn my little black dress in a couple years, but I'm not getting rid of it because
Yeah.
it's my little black dress.
Right.
So that that's important.
So the steps to success, they're saying, is assess your clothes in chunks, not all at once. So they're saying a common mistake is pulling everything out and becoming totally overwhelmed and
Right.
then giving up. So it's
Right.
better to do one drawer at a time, look at
Yeah.
items hanging in the closet and do like shirts and blouses and t-shirts and decide based on those 10 items what you really use, what's getting worn, things like that, which actually
Right.
makes a lot of sense. And
Yes.
look at things to see whether or not they're in wearable order, because I know that I
Right.
have stuff that, like, I wear old t-shirts to sleep in because I like that. But to be honest, they're some of them are getting kind of ratty. And even though they're comfortable, they probably should go in the rag bag or whatever you want to call it. Um, and if you have things that are special, it's okay for you to keep it, but maybe don't keep it in your closet.
Right. And that's what I've noticed with like women's wedding dresses. They take up so much space, so much of the time. And keeping them in your regular closet is just that's just not the spot for them unless you're going to be wearing that sucker once a month. Are you? Maybe.
You think that I thought, oh well, one of my daughters wear it. Well, my daughters are both like 3 inches, 3 to 4 inches taller than me, and their body shape is completely not mine. And that thing is over 30 years old, so they probably don't want to wear it.
Right. Right.
Okay, so papers and binders from high school, college, and grad school. I understand that
Mhm.
because you think you think that you're going to look at those notes, or it took you so long to do that education that you feel almost guilty about getting rid of it.
Mhm.
But I stored a bunch of that stuff in the garage, and then when I pulled them out, I noticed that, like, silverfish had eaten on the edges and
Oh,
all sorts of stuff. And I just started tossing stuff because, again,
yeah.
a lot of the stuff is out of date. I mean, when I went to school, everything was in books.
Mhm.
Now Google is my best friend, or
Right.
ChatGPT, because
Right.
I mean, there's so much information at our fingertips
Hmm.
that when I'm actually in a class where I'm taking notes or something, I actually pull my phone up and I take a picture of the slide now. I don't even take notes that the same way I used to.
Right. Right.
So, you know, you should probably start getting rid of some of these things that you think are going to actually be useful and they're not. And
I just have most of the stuff from school I've gotten rid of. Um, there's one file that will probably, go to the grave with me. And my best friend and I we did a report in, I want to say it was sociology. Anyway, it was about the drug culture of the 60s. And so we even have a cassette tape that we'd gone to a local radio station and they had taped all these drug songs for us. It was just a kick in the pants. And we did a slide projector kind of thing. And one of the comments, teacher, well, your report was kind of pro drugs. I have to keep it. I just have to because it makes me laugh hysterically every time I see it. And I remember those times. My Janelle friend is gone now, and so it just really brings really good stuff. But it's only one file, so everything else I did end up getting rid of.
office supplies.
Oh my
You have too
gosh,
many office supplies that you don't use
all the
because,
pens and pencils.
yeah, I
Do I
know I have.
need three hole punchers? Three hole.
Yeah.
Do I need three of them? No.
Well, at the
All the
time, I
pens.
did need three of them because I needed one, and then my daughters each wanted one, and then they'd come and take mine. So I actually ended up buying them each one. And now that they're not in school anymore, they gave them back to me. So yeah, I have three of them. Three. So I can sit there and punch a whole bunch of stuff.
You can
Um,
make confetti.
so I have. So what the experts say is no more office supply shopping until you use up what you have. Or even better, give them donate them someplace. That's what I
Right.
ended up doing. I actually took a bunch of notepads that I get at these CE events, and I took them to
Continuing
work.
education.
Yeah, and they're using them at the office at work now
Oh, gotcha.
because we never have enough notepads at work. Like, well, part of it's because we're not supposed to be writing stuff down because everything's supposed to be in the computer. But that's another story. Um, Sharpen pencils, stack sticky notes together, combine half-empty boxes of supplies into one, and then store everything together, which I did do.
Right.
And
So
then
basically, you're organizing it like with like
exactly.
and cutting down the amount that you have. I mean, it was like a woman that I was helping, who she's a senior. We were doing a little downsizing and she had 8 totes of office stuff,
Yeah.
staples, paper clips, pens, pencils, 8 totes of them.
Well, when you can't find things though, you go and buy more.
Right, right,
And then the last thing is toys. Now, I don't have kids in my house anymore.
right.
So I don't have a lot. Well, okay, I have games, board games, because my daughter won't let me get rid of them because she's into board games.
Gotcha.
But they are all out in the garage in one big, like hefty big tote. Like
Mhm.
I don't know how many gallons it is, but it's a big one. Um, and I would like to get rid of some of them, but every time I say, well, what? No, no, keep that, keep it. It's like okay, whatever. Um, but like the stuffed animals,
Mhm.
if they're really old, they may not be in condition for people to use because they get dirty, infested,
Right.
things like that. Um,
Well, and I remember having an Eeyore, a stuffed Eeyore when I was little, and it was actually stuffed with sawdust.
Y- Yep.
And I'm like, oh my God.
My grandmother made a stuffed animal and she put beans in it, and then I realized there were bugs in these beans, so I threw the whole thing out. And after I threw it out, I was kicking myself because that was one of the few things that I decluttered that I regretted. I thought, why didn't I just empty it out and restuff it?
Right, right,
But I threw it away, and that was something that I can't replace. So
right.
think about things, but they're saying that if you have a lot of kids, the little goodie bag stuff,
Mhm.
after a week, they're not playing with it, put it in the
How it
trash.
goes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because they're
yeah.
usually little trinkets and stuff.
What
Um,
my granddaughter's been doing with her little guy, he's 2, and she rotates. So she rotates the toys in and out, so it's never so many that you can't handle it, and donates a lot. She
right.
just,
Because at
yeah,
that age too, things they don't use certain things because they're not
they
age appropriate
progress
anymore.
through. Yeah, yeah.
So it says every 6 months, evaluate your toy inventory and ask yourself, do my kids still play with this? Is it in good shape? Do we have all the pieces and will they still use it in a few years? That's good advice. And
When
then
it
you
comes
have
to
to get
some toys, they're mine, and I like them. So,
and then you have to get your kid on board. So they're saying
right.
we have to make some room. We can't even play in here anymore. What are 7 things we can bring to Goodwill? So that's one way to approach it with your kids, which is actually
We have families in our buy nothing group in our neighborhood, um, that they go through the toys with their kids, and the kids, they then, the mom takes the picture and stuff, and the kid gets to pick
who gets
of
it.
all the people that say I want what the kid gets to pick.
And that's actually good. That's actually really good. So those were the things that most people have issues with, at least the people who answered the question on their Facebook group. I
Gotcha.
find that interesting.
Yeah. And that was from Real Simple magazine.
That was a Real Simple magazine, yeah, article.
So we hope you guys enjoyed our little magazine moments, and make sure that
Tune
you
in.
subscribe and follow us on Facebook and YouTube and all that fun stuff. And we will see you soon. Oh, and remember, keep it simple,
Mhm.
keep it intentional, and as always, keep decluttering. This is the JJs Podcast signing off.
Bye.